Now it's time for our games review, where we take a look at some other racing titles. Here's Alicia to tell us what takes pole position.
Codemasters are one of the UK's oldest studios, and they've been making racing games since way back in 2009, which in game development terms is basically the Jurassic Age. F1 2016 is the latest in their F1 series of racing games, and it is genuinely one of their best to date. They've learned from all the previous ones, and they've created this experience that's just incredibly realistic. The really interesting thing about this series of games is that it addresses the issue that we often forget that racers do, professional racing drivers. That's not just about the track. It's not about the tight turns and the glamour and the glitz of being there on the tarmac. It's also about managing your time, your inbox, your agent, the engineers, and a large portion of the game is actually spent at a computer desk, which sounds really boring, but trust me, if you've ever played anything like The Sims or Football Manager or any of those simulation games, this is right up your streets. When you actually get out onto the track, it is glorious. It's just graphics so slick you could slip on them. As Jane Austen once said, it's a truth universally acknowledged that a single player in possession of a good console must be in want of Mario Kart. It's one of the bastions of video game gaming culture. We've been playing it since the 90s. Mario Kart 64, which is one of my personal favourites, came out in 1996, and it was one of the first games to really have 3D graphics, and suddenly you had these 3D rendered graphics that meant that courses weren't just two-dimensional. We could introduce these ideas of pits and kind of traps and really engaging courses that you could really race. It is one of the first racing games. It's just really creative, cartoonish, kooky fun. It's just a brilliant game. But for those who worship at the altar of tarmac and who guzzle their communion wine from a petrol tank, Project Cars is kind of the holy grail of racing car simulation because it's so realistic. And this is a game that's altogether more serious. It came out last year, and there's no poppy soundtrack or generous rewinds that often racing games have. If you take a wrong turn, you can reverse back onto the tarmac. Instead, Project Cars aims to be satisfying in its realism. So if you're the type of person that drinks your Coke full fat and your squash undiluted and your motorsports, you like them pure, this is definitely one to check out.